So our second speaker is Dr. Ignacio Demarco, who's president of Foundation Mundo Sano in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Thank you very much. Disappointingly for you, I guess, I am not the president of the foundation. No, I know. That would be Doctor. Yeah, I was promoted and I didn't know about it. That would be Dr. Silvia, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but I'm honored to take her place up here, and thank you very much for the invitation. What I do actually is I manage the R&D programs, mostly in oncology, for Insud Pharma, the pharmaceutical company that you see up there. But I can also talk about Chagas. I've been learning a lot about it in the past couple of months when they told me I had to give this talk. And so what I'm trying to do today is to tell you this, which I think is a very interesting story of how a pharmaceutical company and a foundation can work together to advance these type of treatments for neglected diseases. So what is the Mundo Sano Foundation? It is an international non-profit organization that works together with the private sector, the public sector, academia, other international institutions, in order to try to work with communities that are affected by different neglected diseases, such as Chagas disease, dengue, leishmaniasis, and also soil-transmitted helminths. That last one mostly in Ethiopia, in Africa. And the foundation mainly works on 3 different types of areas. The first one, and probably the most important, are the endemic areas that have vectorial transmission. And those would be some rural areas in Argentina where Chagas disease is very prominent. It also works in endemic areas that do not have, or at least at this moment do not have, vectorial transmission, like, for example, the city of Buenos Aires or other major cities in Argentina, where you have infected people even though you don't have the vector there yet. And also it works on areas which are not endemic, for example, in Spain, but which is a country that through, again, immigration from mainly Latin American countries, has over 80,000 people infected with Chagas disease. And as of 2016, the Mundo Sano Foundation and the Harvard University have signed an agreement in order to diagnose and treat people with Chagas disease in the US, and that's what I'm going to be talking about later. So I just put this cartoon up here to very briefly talk about the 3 pillars of the foundation. The foundation tries to create these management models which have to be replicable, scalable, and transferable, and it does so through public-private partnerships with different institutions, like I told you before. And also it works together with the affected communities and key actors in order to create awareness and intervention programs, and also to facilitate access to the treatment, in this case Chagas. And from all these activities that the foundation does, it constantly revises the strategy and communicates the results through specialized journals or manuals or monographies or different type of material, in order to create awareness and to connect both with the medical community and the affected community. So what is Chagas disease? For those of you who are not familiar with it, Chagas disease it's a parasitic infection by the Trypanosoma cruzi parasite, and this parasite is found in the infected feces of these triatomine bugs. It's known under different names. It's vinchuca in some countries of Latin America. I think it's called the kissing bug here in the U.S. And the way this bug infects people is that it usually hides during the day. It comes out at night, and it stings people in the face, usually close to the eye or the mouth. That's why it's called the kissing bug. And then it deposits its infected feces near or on the wound or in the intact mucosa, and then the parasite gets into the bloodstream and the person gets infected. That's the most common way of transmission, but it can also be transmitted vertically from mother to baby, also through blood transfusion, organ transplant, or even drinking contaminated water in endemic areas. So it's a really serious problem. And so it's characterized primarily at the beginning by an acute phase, which goes mostly undiagnosed because it's either asymptomatic or the symptoms are common to any other infectious disease like fever, headache, nausea, vomiting. And so it sometimes it goes unnoticed, and after 8 to 12 weeks, the person goes into what is called the chronic phase. And that chronic phase, the bad part is that the person can remain asymptomatic for 10 to 30 years and then develop heart problems like cardiomyopathy or really serious gastrointestinal problems or even neurological problems. So for the CDC, Chagas is a neglected parasitic infection. We know that it affects almost 7 million people worldwide, mostly in rural parts of Latin America, but it's becoming an increasing threat in other countries, including the US, where it's thought that about 300,000 people are infected. And these are people that probably got infected during their childhood in Latin America and then moved to the US, and several years later they find out that they have this disease. An important problem here in the US is that usually physicians don't think of Chagas disease. So it's a largely undiagnosed disease. There are probably large pockets of infected people who don't know that have the disease. And then it's, with the exception of a couple of states in the US, it's not a reportable disease. So Chagas has also spread, like I said, to other countries like Canada, many European countries, and also Western Pacific countries. There is, since the 1960s and 70s, there are two molecules that were available for most of that time, called Benznidazole and Nifurtimox. That they were commercialized by Roche and Bayer, respectively. And going to the issue of early and timely diagnosis, treatment, and access, why is it important that this disease is diagnosed and treated early? So, for example, infected women of childbearing age who are infected but get treated before being pregnant, they will not transmit the disease to the offspring. Otherwise, like I mentioned before, this is a vertically transmitted disease. Also, it's known that treatment of infants 0 to 2 years old leads to cure in 100% of the cases. treatment during the acute phase, so the first 8 to 12 weeks after infection, has also a very high success rate. And in adults, as more time passes since the infection, the chances of getting cured by this treatment are reduced. But there are some reports that suggest that if you treat adults with this condition, these are with benznidazole, that this treatment will slow the onset of heart disease. But still, the percentage of adult people who will respond to the treatment is lower, around 50 to 60%. So at this moment, benznidazole is the only drug that is FDA approved, not Nifortimox. I think Nifortimox is available through a CDC special program. So what I'm going to do is talk now about the development of the benznidazole by the Mundo Sano Foundation and in Sud Pharma once it stopped being produced by Roche. So in 2007, Roche produces the last batch of benznidazole and transferred the technology to a Brazilian public laboratory, Lafepe. For, I guess, technical and other reasons that I won't go into, in 2010, Lafepe stops producing benznidazole, and the world ends up without supply of this drug. And so in 2011, the Mundo Sano Foundation, together with Insud Pharma and together with the Argentine Ministry of Health, they get together to respond to this shortage of medicine. And what they do is they synthesize the benznidazole, they create a new formulation, which in 2012, it's approved by ANMAT, which is the Argentine regulatory authority, under the trade name Avarax. Right after that, and in order to provide access to all the affected communities in Latin America, the registration process for Avarax starts in different countries of the region. And towards the end of 2012, the Avarax import is approved in Spain to treat the large community of people that they have infected over there. Like I mentioned, over 80,000 people infected in Spain. Also, PAHO and the WHO acted quickly, and they included the benznidazole in the essential medicines list and the strategic fund of PAHO. So this really accelerated the access of this medicine to other regions of the world. It was around the end of 2013 when, after a series of meetings here in the US, some key opinion leaders in the area here decided that they wanted to have an FDA-approved treatment for Chagas here in the country. And so this was a huge challenge and a huge opportunity for the foundation. A huge challenge because FDA regulations are very stringent. So, for example, to begin with, the production of benznidazole had to move from Argentina to one of our FDA-approved plants in Europe, and that's not an easy thing to do. But again, I think that this is one of the nice aspects where the pharmaceutical industry can collaborate with the foundation in advancing treatment for neglected diseases. So that was done, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about the pathway that we walked together with the FDA in order to get this product approved here. So in 2013, we had a pre-IND meeting with the FDA. It was the first discussion regarding all the clinical development plan, all the studies that were required, of course, bioequivalence, pharmacokinetics, a bunch of different studies, food effects, bridging studies, and also at the beginning of 2014, we got the orphan drug designation for Benznidazole. And what does that mean? It means that the sponsor that gets a product approved for an orphan disease can get, let's say, tax benefits, for example, for clinical development, or once the treatment is approved, you will get a few years of marketing exclusivity. And so that's an interesting incentive that was necessary in order to put all the resources, I get human resources and economic resources, into continuing with the development of this product for the U.S. market. Then in 2015 also, the FDA, in order to speed up the filing process, what they did is they got together with a group of key opinion leaders, and what they decided to do was to approve all the previous data that had been generated over 50 years on the use of Benznidazole, and then leave some of the studies that needed to be done for a post-approval phase. So this helped a lot and speeded up the process. And so at this moment, I have to say that for us, it was really rewarding to work with the FDA on a product that they needed here in the U.S. I mean, all the studies that they requested, it was all the same. They were very strict, but the conversations with them were very polite, and you can have the idea that, or you were under the impression that you were really helping them solve a real problem. So that was for us, a really rewarding experience, and we learned a lot from that, from the interaction with the FDA. Then a turning point in 2015. Chagas is included in the list of neglected diseases. Why do I say it's a turning point? Because once you get included in that list, which up to this point it wasn't, probably through an oversight, because with over 300,000 people infected, it's a disease that needed to be in that list, and it wasn't. And what happens when you get in the neglected diseases? You are entitled to a priority review voucher. What is that? As a sponsor, if you get a treatment approved for a rare pediatric disease, the FDA gives you a voucher that will allow you to get priority review on a different product. And that voucher is transferable. So what does it mean? If in your pipeline, let's say you have, I don't know, your next Lipitor, which will sell, I don't know, $5-10 billion a year, and instead of having the FDA review your filing in a year, it will do it in 6 months, then you get out on the market 6 months earlier, and if it's a $10 billion a year drug, you will earn a lot of money. And so that's a really nice economic incentive for those institutions, companies, or foundations that develop products for rare pediatric diseases, because once you get a voucher, then you can sell it to a big pharmaceutical company, and with that money, for example, you can work on access programs, or you can work on a bunch of different things that otherwise would have been impossible. But another thing, that once it was included in the neglected disease listing, it also caught the attention of other companies. So the race was on. There was this company, Kalos Bio, that also wanted to have a Benznidazole approved. In the end, it didn't happen. And at that point, the Mundo Sano Foundation, associated with DNDi, that's the Drug for Neglected Diseases Initiative, which is a nonprofit R&D organization that that does research and development for drugs for neglected diseases. And at that point, Mundo Sano makes the commitment to the FDA to use part of the money from the voucher to make the treatment affordable, available, and sustainable, as well as to create a true access plan for the United States. So, and then all the process of data collection begins. I'm not going to bore you with this. The file is accepted for priority review. The NDA is approved finally in August 29, 2017 for the pediatric population, so 2 to 12 years old. The surrogate endpoint that is normally used in the treatment of Chagas is seroconversion. There was data from placebo-controlled clinical trials. And so the presentations that were approved was a 12.5 milligram tablets for pediatric population. And the nice thing about this new formulation that Insud Pharma developed was that it's a pill that it's a tablet that it's easily dissolved. So for little kids, it's something that you can put in a spoonful of milk or water, and it's easily administered. The priority review voucher was granted, and now we have some post-marketing requirements. Like I told you, where we need fertility studies, ADME studies that are ongoing, and also a confirmatory trial in pediatric population. The commercialization in the USA, the product is approved, but it's not on the market yet. It's going to be soon. It's going to be done through one of the companies which are part of Insud Pharma, which is Exceltis USA. The distribution channel is going to be through specialty pharmacy, and the key concept, again, is going to be fair pricing and trusted access. Like I said, the money from the voucher is going to use to create an access program in the U.S., hopefully in collaboration with Harvard University. And we are also planning to extend the indication to adults. So the FDA was really happy with that. And finally, I just wanted to mention that the Mundo Sano Foundation is trying to pre-qualify with the WHO other high-quality generics which are needed for parasitic infections, which are ivermectin and praziquantel. And last but not least, they asked me to promote this event that the Mundo Sano Foundation is doing in October in Buenos Aires. It's going to be a forum on innovation and access to the global pharmaceutical market. The main focus is how can pharmaceutical companies from developing countries access the global market and fill the gaps in the global response to the main health challenges. So I guess mostly it's going to be based on the experience of Mundo Sano on pre-qualifying treatments with WHO, with PAHO, with FDA. Also, there's going to be discussion on the need of new antibiotics and new innovative tools and things like that. So I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be in October, and you can ask me for more information on that later if you're interested. All right, thank you very much.